He said, you know what? I'm totally lost. I don't understand what I'm doing. I don't understand where it's going. I feel real estate is not for me. Bye.
They trust you. Mm-hmm. So it's down to your standards. You say, look, I do it. Okay, I can deliver. Or you say, look, I cannot do it. They're changing.
Specialization.
Yeah. Expertise, just expertise.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, there was 400 billion dirham transaction last year.
Wow.
And the offices 400 billion dirham transaction in 2023.
So can we clarify what is the difference between the office and the retail?
Okay.
Once and for all.
So to make it complicated even more is you could also take a warehouse. So people nowadays, they like to go to. So when I closed the deal, I said, okay, yeah, great, I have my money, blah, blah, blah. And then lots of people came to me. Oh, I convinced the client for this. I convinced the client for that. And they were all asking money.
And I was mushrooms.
I was like 6 months here and I didn't know what to do. It's like all these people, they came, and if you round up together, you owe more money to them than what you got paid for.
Welcome to Ksenia Talks, and today I'm extremely excited to host this guest that we're having today because we are going to talk about the subject that partially will touch half of Dubai and almost every businessman who lives here. So let me introduce you, the king of Burj Khalifa commercial and expert of the tallest offices in the world, owner of the real estate, better called Pierre Bassez.
Yeah, good morning, Ksenia. Thank you for having me. Pleasure to do this with you. It's something new for me, but excited to do.
Yeah, I mean, usually on the podcast, we have this chance to discuss such a topics that is very hard to maybe touch upon during the real conversation in real life with some people. And over this period of time, like 1 hour, we try to cover things that are maybe like for myself, because I've been in residential for such a long time. And to be honest, me and commercial, we're like, go backwards. So that's why I'm very happy to have you here. And knowing how complicated and how interesting commercial part and commercial industry of real estate in Dubai, how did you even start? What was your beginning and how did you decide this is for you?
So it's actually an interesting story. So I've been doing real estate somehow, like notary, property management, brokerage, selling, renting since 2008. I studied in France and I moved to Dubai in 2015.
Oh, so you're almost local.
Yeah, 9 years. Next year will be the 10 years anniversary.
Amazing.
But so what happened, like pretty much everyone who starts in real estate, I got contacted on LinkedIn. I was looking for jobs in Dubai and some brokerage in Dubai contacted me and said, look, we are looking for experienced agents from abroad to come to Dubai. And at that time, I didn't know much about Dubai. And I said, you know what? I will close my company in France and try it.
That's a big step.
I landed here. It was 1 week before Ramadan in June 2015.
Wow.
And I didn't know what Ramadan was about. So it was like pretty much a shock, like when I came here. And this company was only residential focused. English company, only English speakers. I was the only one speaking 2 languages. And the first day they gave me a car and they told me you're going to be handling Jumeirah Park.
Okay. So, residential, basically.
So I drove from Business Bay to Jumeirah Park. And the day after I came to the owner of the company, I said, look, I cannot do this. It's not what I'm interested in. It's not the way I see my experience being used in this market. So he said, what do you want to do? I said, how does the commercial work in Dubai? And this is related to what you just said, which is he had no clue. He said, look, I don't know, but if you want to do it, you can do it, but I cannot help you. So you have to start from zero.
Wow.
So, it's like you don't know anything. Same as the agent most of the time today. They don't know licenses. They don't know areas. They don't know much. So this is why I'm interested to answer all your questions because someone else asked me those questions before. So I know most of the answers to those specific questions.
That's amazing.
That's how I ended up in commercial. And then you move a bit to industrial because it's a big animal. So there's lots of things to do on that market.
So just the beginning question is, why would someone, let's say if somebody is new coming to Dubai, an agent who really doesn't know yet, shall I do commercial, shall I do residential specifically in Dubai? Because obviously whatever we've done before in our countries, it might be different because again, the laws are different and how Dubai positions the distribution of real estate units over here for sale or for rent, I think it varies a lot comparing to other countries in the world. Now, why would a beginner or anybody who is about to choose between the residential and commercial will go for commercial? Is there more money to be made?
So I think, the money is obviously a lot more when you close a deal, but the consistency on closing deal, this is where it's difficult, because it takes months sometimes, not to just get the deal done, but to get paid the money, because usually you find the place, then they have licensing involved, they have fit out involved, they have consultancy, lawyers, so many people involved that somehow you have an agreement, but by the time it's signed, it takes some time. But back to the question on how should you start, where should you start? First is the company. It's very important. So you have only very few companies specializing in commercial in Dubai.
Exactly.
And then you will have one agent in each company that knows a bit, but these are the companies you shouldn't go for, because if you knew, you need guidance. So the most important is to have someone that can help you. You see, for me, I learn myself, I'm learning every day, but you need to be very motivated, because most of the clients you meet, they know more than you. In residential, it's happening, but in commercial, most of the time it's happening. You have those big people that have been here for a long time, they know a lot, and when they hire an agent, they want to learn from that agent. They cannot rely on the agent just to open the door and the guy has to find out what to do. It's not like this. You need to know all the answers in advance.
So do you think that's the reason that most of agents are going for residential rather than taking risk in commercial?
I think it's also the market, the way it's positioned. Commercial, you don't hear much about it. There's not much sale happening. There's no off plan. There's no such thing in commercial. So the marketing is pushed towards residential. And same, if the company doesn't do it, they don't even think it's a market they should approach. So the commercial is something that it's more like a consultancy job. It's not really brokerage. It's not like you have a place and you'll have 100 calls from your listing, and then one of those 100 clients will take it. Sometimes you wait for months for that specific client, for that specific property. So it's a patient game.
So that's why maybe the commission volume for the commercial is higher. But could you highlight a little bit, is there any specific clause that we actually as agents can get more commission for the commercial rather than residential?
So as you know, the commission law doesn't exist. This is like this mirage in Dubai.
So as per agreed.
Yeah, exactly. So it's to the client. At the end, even the residential is the same. If you want to charge 20%, 30%, if the client accepts, then it's fine. For commercial, the thing is, because you have to rent at least for 12 months, but it can be up to 10 years. So usually you could charge for the whole contract value. So a percentage of the whole contract value.
And that was, by the way, one of the questions my agents asked me, do we take commission for all the time, how long they rent? So it's like, if it's 5 years, it's commission for 5 years.
So this is done to negotiation with the client. Obviously, the commission is rarely 5%. Only an experienced client will charge 5%, because if you give value to the client value this expertise that you share. So it's okay to pay more. And compared to residential, it's not coming from your own pocket. You see, if you buy a house, you're looking at the budget as a person.
Yes.
So it's going to impact your expenses for the year. Of course. As a company is different. They have this budget allocated. So when they look, they know that they will have to pay commission. So they are not really much into negotiation and things like this. So you set the parameters. You say, okay, my commission is 10% on the price we can agree. If you rent for 3 years, it would be 10% of the 3 years. That's it.
Amazing.
Set in stone. And for the sale is the same. But sale, because you get experienced agents, usually get you 2% from the seller guaranteed, because they only appoint usually one agent, and from the buyer the same. But down to what you said, if you feel like the buyer doesn't know anything in Dubai, you will expect him to find a license. So you can also tell him, look, I will help you the whole way. So from getting your license to doing the fit out, showing you the different contacts, saving time, then you charge him more and say, look, I'll be your guideline. So you will know the market because of me. Because it's not only getting the contract. There's lots of things involved there.
And that's usually it's kind of merge thing when you help with license as well, because that's, I guess, the license, they define the areas. So
correct.
The main line, that's what I've heard, the main line, the free zones and all of this.
So this is a confusion in the market. Right. So license is guided by the area. So based on where you are, there is a specific license. So most of the client coming to Dubai, they'll say, okay, I live in, let's say, Dubai Marina, and I want to work close from home, like walking distance. So I would like to have my office in Jumeirah Lake Towers. Yeah. So let's say that client contacted me. And if I didn't ask him the question of what is your business or where you are on this licensing thing, and let's say you're a real estate person and you want to establish in GLT. Right. So I'll do viewings with you. I show you property and say, okay, I love this office. I'll take it. Then we do the paperwork. But because I'm an agent that doesn't know what to ask, then we find out that you don't have the correct license because this is regulated DMCC and the real estate is from the DED. So you cannot be there. And then what to do? I took my commission. You cannot operate from there. And this is usually where that agent disappears and goes to, because he just cheated you in a way, or he was just unprofessional and he didn't do it in purpose. He's just unqualified. So this is what I'm saying to the client. Just check around. Don't trust the newcomer's agent. Ask them for how long they've done. It's like an interview. You want to know if that agent knows what he's talking about. And most people don't.
So first thing comes the license. So we know exactly where the office is eligible to be.
Correct.
And after that comes already the thing. Because I had the small experience in commercial where I think it was a full floor at that time it was a downtown off plan though. It was the easiest. I loved it actually because you just send the calculation and it's all shell and core. Obviously it's off plan, even that we didn't even know how it looks like.
Yeah. And the buyer doesn't need any license because he's just buying, so he doesn't operate, which is easy.
It doesn't, yes. So that's basically, I think, the major experience that I had with commercial, because I also felt like as a totally specific profile of the clients who are going for that, because we as people who are selling apartments, villas and everything, our main focus is like when the sun comes up and I don't know, like the kitchen, here, like when you're dealing with basically shell and core, which in Dubai, most of it shell and core as far as I know. So you don't do much of a description, isn't it? You just basically make more calculations of how profitable in terms of location, so it's kind of a more technical job.
Correct. So the profile that we see for the commercial investors, no one in the real estate starts with an office. So if they want to invest, first they'll buy their own home. So they will live in the home. And then if they generate cash, they will say, okay, I will invest in residential because somehow I know what it is. But the residential is like 12 months contract. You have to deal with day-to-day stuff like leaks and problem with the tenant, renewal. Are you living? Are you staying? All of this. So commercial, because it's long-term vision. If you start to invest in commercial, you're going to have long-term tenants. Usually everything is charged on the tenant. If they take something shell and core, they even do the fit out. So you get value with investing less. So for the investor, it's less money. Of course, the ticket price is more, higher on price per square foot because offices are big and downtown specifically. But those people, they know. So you merge them from residential to commercial, which most agents don't know, because you cannot offer commercial product without knowing, because the guy is going to ask you so many financial questions that if you don't know, he's going to say, look, I'm not going to buy with you.
What could be one of those financial things that they might require?
The number one word that everyone uses is return on investment, like this ROI.
So ROI is still there, regardless where commercial
so no one really knows what it means and what it is. But for commercial property, you have to pay the service charge as the owner, which is a big thing. But there's also ways to include it in the rent. So you can break it into, this is the rental price, base price, plus the service charge. So you get it back. And then there's also things that come like the VAT, the corporate tax. If you generate too much, who owns it? Should you buy with the company? Should you buy yourself? So different questions to do this. But the most important is how much I pay per square meter and how much rent I get per square meter. This is what they look for. In terms of property valuation, appreciation, all of this, it's a long-term buy. They are not really flippers. Nowadays, you could find flippers because the market goes up. So they are like, I'll buy this office. Maybe I'll buy it shell and core, do the fit out and flip it for more.
That's recently one of the requests that I had from our management, that they wanted to actually do something like that. But I don't know. I started to check around. I can't say that there's a huge income kind of level on that. I'm not sure if maybe you can enlighten that as well.
So
making it sense or not, this type of deal.
Yeah, it's done to the same parameter, which is the control of the property. So most of these agents, they list something they don't really understand. And you will get experienced agent calling them and say, how much is the rent? How many checks they pay? Are they on time? What's the appreciation on the contract? Are they going to increase the rent? What are all the clauses? Because even you see in the residential, you can have a breaking clause saying, if I want to leave, let's say I lose my job, I pay a penalty and I'm out. Commercial, you can set the contract in stone, meaning that for the next 5 years, they can't break. So regardless if the company closed, whatever, they have the checks in advance, they can cash the checks. There. So for investors, it's not guaranteed, nothing is guaranteed, but it's a safer move to do this. But the question to ask is more about what is it exactly? What are you selling? Are you selling with some kind of a contract, or are you selling it empty that the tenant will vacate? Because most of what we see today, the rent went up like a lot. So company owners, they're like, I'm feeding someone else's plate. So I want to buy myself as a person and put my company there. So I'm stop bleeding and pay someone else. But the thing is, to find something vacant is very tough as well. Because back to what you said before, when you have a property in Dubai, it's for commercial purpose only. If you open a license, they're going to say, okay, trade name registration. So you block the name. Then you have to do the licensing, who's going to be the owner, the partners, the manager, all of this. And then they will say, okay, we need an address.
Physical address.
So this is where you have the snake biting his own tail, because an owner will not rent to you unless you have a license.
Right.
But the license will not be approved unless you have an address. So how do you do?
Jari.
Right? Exactly. So you need this jari to get the key.
Yeah.
So what the owner do, you go with the pre-approved license, you sign the contract. Obviously, most of the time you don't have the checks because it's a new company. So you'll give personal checks to be changed later when the bank account is ready. But so you sign that contract with a clause saying that I lose my deposit if the license is not issued. Because for whatever reason, the license sometimes is refused. Conflict of interest, the people on the license, where they are coming from, which kind of money they have, all of these questions that could say, we don't want you here. So when the license is issued, then you go back to the owner, say, okay, this is the license. We change the contract, and then you go register with a jari, give it to the licensing authority, and then you're good. So these are parameters that most of the agents, they will close the deal and don't help the clients because they don't know what to do after. So you also have lots of companies set up company that popped up everywhere. They call, agent all the time. Hi, we do golden visa with the company setup if you have clients for us. And so there's lots of services as well to tell them which license to take.
And I feel like clients, sometimes they're confused. They think that the agent themselves, they have to educate them from A to Z about how to open, what license to take, which locations, which I feel this is more of the opening business companies have to do. Or is it something that where is the boundary where the agents, work stops or starts, let's say, and where the other, because I have a friend who works in company formations. She's opening license for them. And she always asks me, like, if you have any office here and there, just, because people want, to get something afterwards. But those people who come from her, they're already like legit in terms of like, they know exactly the area. They already, license are there, visas are there, everything is there. Just that the office is missing. And that's where we help. But if somebody randomly comes to Dubai and they're contacting real estate, do we stop them at that point and say, sorry, but you have to go to the person who's going to help you to open license, and then you come back to me?
Correct. So it's all about qualification. That client is just a window shopper because whatever you're going to tell him, it might not match his business. So the first thing is, where are you with your license? Did you approach anyone? If he says no, then you say, look, these are the people we work with. You give it to them. They will help you, tell you what to do. When you know what you want, then you come back to me because the real estate is not now, because you're going to spend time. And what they don't understand as well is how fast this market is moving. You see something vacant, and sometimes there's been viewings for like a couple of weeks on it, and some guy that saw it 2 weeks ago will take it.
That happens so much in residential, so much.
So you see empty space. So you think because it's empty, you have time, but you don't have time. So you go back to this company and you say, look, this is what I want to do. And they will give you guideline on which license to take. The thing is, how do you not lose the client? Because if you do this, let's say
maybe they have some other people.
So you give that to your friend and say, look, Senia, thank you for the client, but look, I have someone who does, and then she gives me the client, and you lose the client because she knows I will find what that client wants. So it's down to the control, but it's like that guy that calls you for the residential and say, look, Senia wants to buy a villa maybe in 6 months. I don't know how much money I have. I don't know how to transfer. I never came to Dubai. And then you say, look, whenever you're ready, call me back, because you just give so much knowledge and consultancy for free. But sometimes because you do that extra work, the client's like, look, I trust this guy. He's helping me. He's giving me stuff. But some people don't respect that as well. So don't give too much, because they'll use you, and then they go find some agent that doesn't charge as much as you. And they can just maneuver and, get a cheaper deal.
Some clients are very smart in that way.
So they need knowledge, and then they go close somewhere. So just be careful on this.
For sure, yeah. But what are the profiles of the clients? What are the businesses you're seeing that are moving now to Dubai? Because we had a lot of shifts happening over the last 2022, I think, starting from that point. Do you see there are more kind of directions towards like trading, or more real estate companies, or more like, what is the general trend, let's say? So
obviously anything that is locally based, because the population is increasing. I was reading an article yesterday. They said the population is 3.65 million now. So it's increasing. We see it on the road every day. The thing is, so how do you qualify all these new companies coming? So they have lots of free zone that, because most people don't know how Dubai was before, but you need a local sponsor. So that means whoever comes and does business on local lands need to be partnered at least with 51% local sponsor.
Correct, yes.
And some companies like construction, real estate at that time was like 99%. Then they changed in a way that they control the local business. Now what they did, they agreed on 100% ownership to a certain extent. Some companies are still with local sponsors. But what we see is obviously real estate is booming. Offices are popping up everywhere. Even people from abroad are selling Dubai, which is competition too.
Am I feeling it right that there is a shortage of retails and offices a little bit?
Yeah. So everything that has been built was built up to 2014, 2015 and sold. What happens now is most of the owners, the big owners, they build the tower and they built it for themselves. But because everyone is so focusing on increasing the population and having more properties to rent for people to move here, nobody focused much on the commercial, which somehow for the investors, not for the tenants, for investors is good because that means the supply is very low. There's nothing new coming up. The demand for offices is super high. The budget of the people that are moving into these offices
going up.
Have to go up because they have to take something nice. So this is perfect situation for the people that owns office nowadays. The thing is, we expect also new stock because you cannot say, look, I'm a good company. My budget is, let's say, 500,000 dirham. And I tell you as an agent, well, you can go to Dubai for that price. And you can say, look, I cannot, like my clients are in Marina, I cannot do this and I cannot increase to 800, 900,000. This is where we are now. And most of the companies, they're like, we have the case now in downtown. So the lease was 5 years ago and the rent now is so high that the people are asking, but you as an agent, what do you recommend me to do? Should I move somewhere? So I say, look, you're going to move somewhere.
And when I ask you, like, in terms of percentage, how far did it go up from 5 years?
So we are 2.5 times.
Okay.
So in percentage, it's super, super high.
Why
but
high?
the thing is just that because the property was shell and core in a building that was empty, now the building is full. There's high demand. We could rent it every day for that price. But we value also that tenant that was there for that time did the fit out. But if they move out, they will lose on quality. And obviously a company is not only one guy that pays the check. There's lots of employees. They got used to coming by some kind of transportation or their own way. They know where to park.
And also the clients, if they're coming to the place, obviously this is a known place already over 5 years. So they have established.
Correct.
The
and
kind
so for the same money, they will lose so much in quality that they have to keep up. But the thing is, they tell you it's tax-free country. But when you take a license here, you have to have real estate. You see, you cannot tell me I'll put my apartment as my company address. It doesn't work here. You have to take an office. And most people, what they don't know is that you need to have residency visa, right? So the people, most countries, they come as a resident and then they get a work permit. Here, to become a resident, you need to be working, or unless you're an investor. So those companies, they need to have an office matching their visa.
Right.
So bottom point is like, if you want 100 square meter, you can more or less have 10 employees. If you want to increase, then you have to think bigger. And this is where most of the companies don't get this guidance in Dubai, what to do. If you say today I'm 5 people startup and in 6 months I want to be 20, but this office today, you cannot take it. You need to take the office for the next 6 months. You need to think big, but then big is big money. So
Such
it's
a different flow of, consequences that is happening, which usually doesn't happen residential at all. I've got a few requests before it was, and that's where we also had a challenge. People like to be in the malls. People like to rent in the malls, but I feel, you got to be qualified as a brand, as a business so high that not every typical kind of business can come into those type of areas. Even I'm talking about smaller malls, or I'm talking about some specific high-end locations where there's a big traffic of people going on, and people really like when they come to Dubai, the clients, business owners, they look around and like, I want to be in this spot. I want to be there. And then they ask us as agents like, oh, can I get a nice retail over there? Give us the profile. And then this profile doesn't get qualified. Do you get that stuff a lot? How do people manage that? How do you as an agent, working with clients?
So the common question that we get, and I think you get the same, is that people are used, especially nowadays with lots of Europeans and Eastern European coming, they're used to the city vibes, like retail shops, and they are not really into the mall business. And they want those retail spaces with footfall. They say, okay, give me good footfall. But there's no retail space in Dubai as such. You don't go in the street, you don't shop around, you take your car everywhere. So you go to the mall, but the mall is the different entity on its own. So the mall are usually owned by a super big conglomerate of
usually some master developers.
Yeah, like so it's not
Dubai
something
Mall, for example.
that most people, they'll come with me and say, I saw this shop next to, let's say, Starbucks in Dubai Mall. I want this one. And I'm like, yeah, great, but it doesn't work like this.
Keep dreaming.
Yeah, it doesn't work like this. It's available. So they say, because it's available, I want it. So usually if it's available, it doesn't mean that there's
available
actually
for you.
that it's actually available. You see it empty, but maybe it's not empty. Maybe there is a contract, some dispute, some fit out. So we don't know. But most of those malls, what they do, they have something called the mix. So it's like a science. They have footfall created based on who is where. So you have those, what they call anchor tenants, which are the one that because of their brand value, they bring customers around. So around those places, this was the highest, like Apple, like Starbucks, all these big brands. Then based on this, the retail prices varies on the mall. You see, if you're next to the front end, because you have so much footfall, the rents are higher. If you're in the corner next to the parking that nobody stops, they just go inside. Usually the price for the tenant will be less. But explaining the strategy of the mall, what they say is, okay, I'm a mall. You, Xenia, come, let's say you sell furniture. I want this shop for my furniture shop. They will say, okay, what we do is we guarantee traffic to you. We have this exposure because we are Dubai Mall, this, that, blah, blah, blah. So we guarantee traffic to you. So you're going to pay the base rent, which is usually by the time they tell you the base rate, you say, I'm going to look somewhere else because it's so high. And then they will say, okay, because we guarantee footfall, most of your clients, they don't come because they saw Xenia online selling furniture. They say they are in the mall. They look something on the window and they say, okay, I'll take this one. So they say the client is because of the mall. So they sell you what they call profit rate. So on top of the rent, you also pay something extra based on your income generated, which is partly owed to the mall. So it's not only the base rent. So for them to budget being in the mall, it's very complicated. And then as well, those companies will say, okay, this is my prime real estate, Dubai Mall. If you want to be in Dubai Mall, you need to also take other shops. You cannot just be in the Crown Jewelry. You need to go with the other ones. And that's where it gets complicated because most of the people coming here, they have what they call franchise. So they bring a brand from abroad to Dubai and they have some kind of strategy from the franchisor saying you need to open 10 shops, but they cannot take one shop in Dubai Mall for the budget of 10 shops.
Of course.
So they will rather go outside to the smaller malls. And then you have something in Dubai that only is here, which is the community mall. You live around, you have a small supermarket and small shops around, which is what people don't understand here, how it works. So the retail is, it's a very different industry. And most of the clients, to be honest, they always go direct to the mall. So what we see is that person that comes to you with a profile, you contact the mall and then the profile is already there. This is what we see as agent. How do you secure yourself? Because we know that client, why we deal with you. So you need to get like in a mandate exclusively. I appoint Pierre to represent me and then they talk to you. Otherwise, they don't want to talk to you. Because there's commission.
Are other clients flexible signing forms like that? Are they feeling like, okay, no problem, let me be exclusive? Or, because, with all this amount of agents in Dubai, I mean, even the residential, we literally have massive issue of trying to get something exclusive. Even if you're like made of gold, they still want their property to be exposed to other agents. But from the other side, I think it's even harder, right? Yeah. When it's a client and he has to be exclusive only with you when he has people, a neighbor, a friend, maybe somebody told him like, okay, somebody already opened business in Dubai before. So they would recommend someone along the way.
Correct. So usually they always say, I know someone that does, which that someone is not qualified. But when you talk to a company, if they've been used to doing this, they're okay with it because it's a company. Individual is more difficult, but it's based on who you know.
Right.
Because if you know the right person in Emar and Nakhil, you can get access to things that if you knock on the door, they'll say, no, there's no such thing here. But because on who is calling, sometimes you have access to different things. And this is the way you sell it to your clients. Look, I know this, I've done this, contact, you can go to this shop, ask them, they got it from me. So you showed your value, and this is your value will get you this exclusivity. But on the client side, what you need to do is you need to put pressure on that agent because you have pressure for someone else to open. So you cannot rely on that agent, give him 6 months to find something. You need to say, look, I give you 30 days. Yeah. And within 30 days, you need to give me 5 shops. Because if he doesn't do anything, you don't want to be stuck with your profile because that means he sends your profile everywhere. So even if yourself go to the mall, they say, no, this is exclusive with that agent. You cannot even come yourself. And that's where clients are confused. So for that, we have a special mandate called sole mandate, which is on the commercial. So sole mandate means there's only one real estate agent working on that brand, but the brand can also work on their own. So because they all have business developer. So most of the mandate we do like this. So they cannot talk to any agent. If agent calls them, they have to revert it to you. But if they also do some legwork on their side and they approach some other people, obviously there's communication. So you say, I've done this, I've done that. So you know what everyone is doing, but you also let the brands work on their own because they get contacted by malls too. So they cannot say, talk to my agent. They will say, no, I'm calling.
So I feel there is a big emotional part of confidence and strength has to be involved dealing with, even to make someone to sign this, you said solo mandate, just to make sure that you're, because I had the case recently in the office, we had a request from one Indian client. He wanted to rent a restaurant for his big kind of, chain, which he already has in Moscow. And it was allocated to one of the Russian agents. To be honest, after a month, believe it or not, he just quit real estate.
Okay.
After going through looking for that specific request, after he went to Burj and had turned around all the communication with some people over there, he said, you know what? I'm totally lost. I don't understand what I'm doing. I don't understand where it's going. I feel real estate is not for me. Bye.
Yeah, no, it's a tough one. Sometimes you will find it in one viewing and you will charge a lot of commission and people say I paid too much. But what you're saying is what people feel, and this is how it is. Because even if you find the property, then usually the client is the problem. They will take their time. They will ask around. They will say, no, maybe it's expensive. And then it's gone. And they ask you, yeah, but I wanted it. Yeah, but I've actually never physically told me you wanted it. No check, no nothing. And then you also have this, because it's a new company, they don't have a checkbook. They don't understand anything how booking property works. So they say, okay, I take it. And they think because they say they take it, it's done. It's not done, Then some agent
Nothing
comes,
is done until the check is on the table.
So this is where how to secure the property, and that agent walks around, does all the work. But this is now it's done. What is done is just you sign the property, all this legwork, you don't get paid for it. And this is agent work. So what you can say to the client, say, look, I'll charge you consultancy fee or some kind of advance payment for doing all this. And you put items that you will deliver. I will go around, I will find you 10 properties, deliverables. And you say, this price will be whatever, 20,000, 30,000. I will work 1 month on this request. If we find something, we deduct it from the amount that you will pay on the real estate. So you motivate your agent to work as well. Because you as a manager, sometimes, how do you motivate this agent? Because you will know this Russian guy, the same request comes, say, no, this guy left. I'm not going to do the same than him because I learned my lessons. So then the client goes where? To some other real estate, and you lost it. And usually those clients, they come to you because they trust you. So it's down to your standard. You say, look, I do it. Okay, I can deliver. Or you say, look, I cannot do it. Let me find an agent that can do it. And then you work on referral program that you make.
That makes so much more sense because for me, for example, to find 10 retails, it's equal to flying to the space and come back. Literally.
If you come back.
If I come back, then we get stuck on the way somewhere.
So it's and it's knowledge, and the city is developing, and the laws are changing.
Specialization.
Expertise, expertise.
Exactly, expertise in something and dealing every day with all of these things. That's why what I'm saying, emotional part is very important, where you, of course, 10 years of experience helps when you can really put everything black and white. And then I think people, when they see that you put everything in right order, they follow that. Because most of them, they lost themselves, isn't it?
But
in the beginning.
You see, this is ideal situation. This is like utopia. You'd say something to the client, say, okay, God talks, fine. But it doesn't work like this.
It doesn't.
Because what they experience is they will say, okay, these are the things to do. Yeah. I'll do it. But then they don't listen to you. They do a mistake. They think they can cut corners. And then they come back to you. These are the best clients. They come back to you and say, I didn't listen to you. This happened to me. And now they come for a lifeline. It's like, I have so many problems. I have wrong license. I took wrong fit out company. I'm facing this and this. Then you come as a different entity because you told them the truth. Ended up listening to some agent that lied a bit on some corners. And
the links are getting, he was right.
Yeah.
Yes.
We see it in the residential as well. Most of the agent, they sell properties, but they don't do handover services. So you buy this property and then for 3 years, the guy pays and then he calls you back saying, you sold me this property. Can you come for handover? And they're like, no, this is not my job, and it's the same for the commercial. You cannot just say my job finished when the contract is signed. There's always some question and they face issue with the building or the municipality or this or that. And then you need to know, because otherwise they feel like this guy took my money and he's not going to refer any client to you if you don't pick up that call.
True.
So it's down to you, your standard and your name in the market, and you need to keep that name. That's the only thing you have.
Yeah. And that name, if you know that real estate is all about long-term relationship, this is what you really need to work on and focus on.
Yeah. So that's why I ended up having this Better Call Pierre name, because all the people that I know, they say, look, commercial, as we discussed, like, I don't talk about it. They say, look, this is not my field. I know someone, this is Pierre, call Pierre. And it's
like check my real estate name, Better Call Pierre. That's what I mean. It comes from the experience.
It's just usually all the questions that people have, because I've met thousands of people which had thousands of questions, and they are stored in my mind. I couldn't answer all the questions, but if one question I've answered before comes up, then I know the answer. Because you cannot be the agent that say, I don't know, and then find it yourself, kind of, You need to be the one going to the land department, municipality, licensing to know what is that specific treatment.
And even I think having that relationship in governmental authorities that you can pick the call and say, man, I don't know, this case is a bit weird. Can you tell me what to do?
Yeah.
So some people, they can really advise you because you have connections as well. Somebody who is new and randomly starting to search for someone, they will never be able to get that connection.
And it could become an expensive mistake as well, because if it's a big company and you make them something wrong, you beg make money, you go on the charts, blah, blah, blah. I made this million on that list. But then if the company finds out that you did something wrong or you didn't tell them the truth, then the lawyers come and then it's a different conversation. So you need to be aware as well that you have everything in writing, like you don't lie, you don't say anything wrong, but this is called ethical. But in this market, not many people are ethical. Usually in commercial, a bit more because you have less agents. But same, you can be surprised as well sometimes. So even on agent to agent, if you meet an agent.
I want to come to that subject really. Basically speaking of all of those kind of challenges. So what is the difficulties that you're facing? Is it more from cooperation with the agent side, or is it more of the clients who are giving more hard time? I mean, what is the difficulties of the commercial in general?
In general, so the stock is a big thing at the moment. So most people don't understand that because the stock is limited and we mostly have exclusive mandates. When agent call, we are not too bothered on working with agent because first of all, they might not know what they do. And if that client finds out that they are not active, they will dig themselves and find me. So it's like a time clicking kind of thing. But the thing is, with agent calling, most of the time, it's difficult for agent to explain to them that they should give you the client.
They just want to hold on to it and like, just send me the options, right?
So they start talking, what's the commission? Can we split that? It's like, we don't even know what the client will take. You call me. So for me, for my numbers, 80% of my calls don't take what they call for because you qualify them. And they call and they don't know if they can take this space or not, or if they need something else. So usually what they end up taking is completely different than what they inquired for. That's one thing. So agent as well. So we have this request, which is funny. So I do the Burj Khalifa offices, which if you look on...
They're more specializing in that.
If you do offices and the most expensive in Dubai, like all my listing will be number one. But the thing is, all these clients, they say, okay, I have this guy, is big tycoon in whatever business that he does, and he has a $10 million budget and he wants to buy an office in Dubai. But they don't understand what that office is for. Is it for the guy? Is it like blue collar, white collar? What kind of license he has? They don't know. So they go online, they say, okay, this is 40 million dirham, matches the budget, size is a bit smaller, a bit bigger. They don't know. And then you talk to this agency, who's the client? Oh, it's some Chinese client, let's say. There's no company, there's no nothing. They never met the client. It comes through referral. And you say, look, buddy, it doesn't work like this. You need to have the client. Tell me what the client is. We do a meeting and say, oh, the client is away, coming in 6 months, all this. So all this doesn't work. Obviously, some agent, they know that when they call you, if it doesn't click, then they will go and do their due diligence and come back to you. But most of these agents, when they call, for most of them, they know what they want. And you can see from their experience if they talk to that client and they qualified that client. Because most of the clients nowadays, they will go with languages. So for me, I get lots of French clients, Russian speaker, they get Russian clients. But same, it's not because you speak Russian that you can answer Russian questions for the market.
Can say so totally nonsense even if you speak the same language. So you still need
an agent that knows. And I also deal lots of Russian that they like the fact that I'm French and they know how French people think. It's very square. If I tell you A, it's A. It's not something else. So they like this straightforward.
Which is totally different from the local way of understanding dealing business. When it comes to trading countries, I've noticed also in Russia, we are quite straightforward. So when it comes to, negotiations and things like that, like for us, it's like, okay, this is the price. Okay, if there is some discount, if I want, I give the discount because it's a good client. It's not like, because we face sometimes now clients that started to even ask for a commission. from the agent, which were like, what? How?
Yeah.
I mean, nobody wants to work for free, right? But there are some agents who do that. And then they become our competitors in terms of grabbing more clients who is basically, going with them just because they get an extra 1 or 2% back on
Correct.
the deal.
But I think the commission is not a big factor. If you do your job on the long term, you will win the commission.
Yeah,
There's always
relationship.
people
I'm talking about the flow of the clients, which is, of course, I agree with you 100%. A good relationship with the client, that's everything. That's 100% success of a long-term relationship. And they always come back and they always buy again and again. And they recommend to the friends. And this is one client can be like a line of 10, 15 people afterwards.
Correct, yeah. But now we see lots of, on the new agent subject is that there's so many new people coming and so many commercial requests because everyone is facing the same. My rent is doubling. Let's look for something else.
Yeah.
So they hire Tom and Jerry and this and that. So you get all these calls saying, I need this office in Burj, but they don't even go online. They don't check anything. And they give that request to the wrong client and they lose time. Because the problem is that if you say to the clients, because agents lie to clients as well, they will say, okay, yes, we can find, no problem. But it doesn't exist. So you have to set the standards. Say, look, this is how the market is. The market is, there was 400 billion dirham transaction last year.
Wow.
And the office is 400 billion dirham transaction in
Amazing.
2023, which is 50% more than 2022. Obviously, lots of them are off plan, but just the office space in particular, it was 4 billion dirham.
Amazing.
Which is 1%. It doesn't look big, but 4 billion dirham is big money. And there's a lot less agent working in that field.
Exactly.
So there is money to be made. But what I'm saying is that it's big money, but it has to be worth it in terms of work. You cannot just claim money for doing nothing. So you need to talk to these people. What we face nowadays, all these clients, they had empty offices. They were crying for tenants, crying for buyers for years since 2008 when the crisis happened. And then all these towers remain empty. They live at Shell and Core. They didn't want to invest in the fit out. So no client was coming in. The chicken and egg situation. And then now market is booming. Everyone is happy. I sold my office for double the price I paid for. It's like they forgot everything that happened before. But we faced it. We know what it was before. We know that Dubai since 2021, 2020 is booming. Yeah. But we also know how it was before. So we have a different conversation with these owners. They're like, no, the grass is not greener. It's a different grass at the moment. But before it was different and my expectations were different. So we have that experience that you gain access to different owners now because you cannot just call like one of them and say, I'm new, I'm 6 months in Dubai. They say, okay, in 3-4 years, just call me back because they don't want to speak to you.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah. Just to educate maybe any people who is coming new to Dubai, because that's what also sometimes I get. You get a call from someone say, we want to open up like, dancing studio and get us the space or like, and I'm like, is it office or is it a retail or is it has to be, no, it can be downstairs, but it can be upstairs as well. So can we clarify what is the difference between the office and the retail once and for all?
So to make it complicated even more is you could also take a warehouse. So people nowadays, they like to go to Al-Quds, Al-Quds, DIP, because the entertainment is easier, parking is easier, but down to the subject is very easy to explain. So a retail is a place that receives public. So usually you need to be on your own.
Do they have to sell something necessarily there? Or?
No, it can be services. It can be just architecture thing. It doesn't have to be something that they sell, but if they receive public on quite large scale, they need to be on their own. You have your own door. People come from outside. It's easy to deal like this. Or malls, they have facility for parking. So it's like all these things that it's easy for the client.
Parking matters in Dubai so much.
So it's for the client, it's easy to come.
Yeah.
Offices, it's usually people come on invitation. You don't go knock on an office like, hey, look, real estate a bit, but let's say you sell IT services. You're not going to have a working client say, look, I'm looking for software development. They will do it from online.
He will not see it even.
They will do it online. They will say, okay, can I come to your office? So an office is a place where it doesn't receive the public, just on invitation. So this is where you make the difference. For the studio, for example, the retail space is a lot more expensive because you get visibility from the street. You don't have to deal with the building regulation, access. It's just
because
easier.
It's a separate entity kind of.
So you can customize the facade. There's so many perks that are better for the retail. Obviously, office people, they don't need all these advantages. So they say, okay, I'll go for office. It's cheaper and easier. So for that dance studio, for example, these people, you don't have working client because if you have working clients, the class is full or something is happening. So they cannot just, when they don't have this dance outfit, whatever, they cannot just come and dance. It doesn't work like this. So they will go and book. So what you say to them is like, most of them come to you and say, okay, my budget is $1 million. I want 5,000 square feet retail. And say, look, no way, it doesn't exist. So you explain to them, you don't need this. Dubai is full of commercial towers. You can do a nice branding online for half of the rent that you will save, and then take an office and go from there. Exactly. Because that office, you got different hours, so you always have access. There is security downstairs. There's parking for visitors. Retail is different. Retail is, if it's in the street, people need to find out where to park. It's the same.
True.
So, and as well, you need to also respect the building. So some building, they will have regulation on the tenant, because if you dance studio and around, let's say you have an office where people are working and they need quietness, you cannot just make boom boom all the time. It doesn't work like this.
Yeah.
So you need to pay more for the fit out, and these are costs to be paid by the tenant.
And fit out, we mean like a soundproof kind of thing, right?
So it has to be, when they come, they will have to put some certain dBs to find out how loud it is vibrating the wall. So all these regulation that you have for those things. So Dubai is super advanced in regulating all those, so that if you implement that system, that business in that thing, there is a system that say, okay, we'll check different things that you've done for the fit out, so the customization of the space. And then if you click all of this, we give you operation allowance, so you can start to operate. If not, you cannot. So this is where you need to have the good services as well to tell you all this, because it's not because you see a space that it matches you. You need to check with the building as well.
That's
so
amazing.
So retail, for everyone that receives public unannounced. Offices, it's like day-to-day business, and from time to time client come. This is as simple as this.
I'm getting a lot of light, from the commercial part. Like, I used to have a lot of gaps in understanding, because obviously if you don't really get into this field much, because it's sometimes we deal with agents, we share they have offices, I have a client, so I don't get involved as much. What I wanted to ask you, I do have a lot of Russians who are, they decided at some point, like, okay, we have business kind of in Russia, but we want to open up something in Dubai. And they don't really know. And they come to you and they're like, so what is it good to open in Dubai? What kind of business is ruling here? What type of business gonna give me income and money? And obviously as fast as possible. Not like, too long run.
This is like crystal ball question. And it's like, which property should I buy?
Because you're living in the country, because like, for example, every country has its own specialization again into, someone is, I don't know, some factories, some production of this and that, tourism, real estate, everything. So they think being in Dubai, we can easily list maybe 5 to 10 businesses that are prime. Is it so, or is it kind of putting the finger in the air?
I think what you need to say to them first is that operating in Dubai is costly. So it's like buying a car, but before you put the key, you have to pay a lot.
Right.
So you need to pay the license, pay the office, find employees. So there's like the whole process that is costly.
Which they don't expect, because the experience that they have in Russia in terms of fees for registration, it's day and night.
And you don't need the setup. You just start from online or whatever. And then when you grow, you schedule the business. That's it.
You can put a tent in the middle of the...
So here, the way it's done is tax-free. I mean, corporate tax is now here, but if you make money, so put aside the tax thing, is that there is implementation cost for the business, which has to be shared with them based on what they do. Same. A real estate license is certain price, flower shop is different price, so all of them different. What works, I would rather ask them which kind of client they are targeting. If they have some business in Russia, would they bring the business here, for example? Then, because most of the clients that we deal from Ukraine and Russia, they say, look, all my clients moved here. So I'm sitting there and all my clients are in Dubai. So they bring the same business in Dubai, and it's successful, because these people in Dubai, they're like, where is my guy that was doing this? Like video games, all these things that we see that are coming here. And it's new business.
Actually, we see a lot of new businesses right now.
So all these are new, but what works is done to the people. You cannot just say, I'm opening a business. If you're not there, if you don't make it work, you need to be there. It's done to you. So there's no special thing. Lots of people, they close a deal, they become real estate owner. For what? You were an agent. You're good in being an agent. You're not good in being manager.
It's a totally different role.
Exactly. So you cannot expect to make more money just because you have your own business.
Right.
So come to Dubai. And I mean, you and I know that the best business in Dubai is real estate.
Absolutely.
Just buy a property, get an account, invest a visa, and just buy property, refurbish, rent them, short term, this, that, and make money from this, because it's tax free.
Yes.
So the best business, I would say, at the moment is real estate.
Okay, so.
But because I think that's really the best one.
Yeah, and Dubai, I think, expanding as much as what I've seen, how country had developed and the potential and the vision of it.
Yeah.
I feel there is no end to it. I feel like, the desert is quite long. So
Yeah.
I think the more communities going towards that side.
Yeah, and they're developing, the train is coming, they announced the new metro. So there's thing coming, and all these people that have been here forever, you bring them to ranches. They said this was desert before, and this is like the city now.
Yeah.
It's like they have all these things, and
Exactly.
the Palm Jebel Ali, Dubai moving south,
Especially
the
Burj
airport, all of
yeah,
this.
everything.
This is,
I feel like those kind of half-frozen projects that get reinstated right now and they start again. Coming back to the off-plan, would you recommend any investor to buy an off-plan retail with a projection of, let's say, doubling the cost of it and selling it on the completion like we do with residential? Is this the same or no?
So, first of all, most of the retailers, as you know, are not for sale. So you need to kind of find out what's for sale
Some
or
of
not.
them still, if you find those, which is like Azizi, for example, they're selling,
Okay.
they're selling everything. So
it's down to the product itself. I think the
you have
name,
to break down what
the
is it
name
for.
of the developer is very important. Not really when you buy it, but when you sell it.
True.
It's like buying a Mercedes car. If you want to resell it, it's always better than saying I bought something like Mercedes for half the price. And they say, yeah, but it's not Mercedes.
Yeah.
So, so if you buy from a reputable developer, it's easier to resell it because they know that the quality built is there, because it's done to construction cost.
And it's a community
If
itself.
it's better built, the retail is better built, the AC infrastructure is there, the electricity load is there. So these are all the things people don't ask when they buy. They buy something, it's okay, I'll rent it to a cafe or restaurant. But maybe this shop was not for food and beverage regulation, it's just for services. So these are all the questions to ask before. So to buy retail, yeah, you should. But most of the client, what they do, they will buy the full plate. So they'll buy all the retail because then they will control what's there. If you buy it as an investor, even if you want to flip it for maybe some guy comes and offer you double the price, okay, sell it and then do it somewhere.
So let's say there is a tower and then there are 4 shops.
Yeah.
So the guy would just buy the whole thing and then he's the boss in that situation. He can sublease it to or lease it to.
Yeah. So why do you think he would do this? In terms of the money generation, what do you think he would do it?
The competition maybe between
Exactly.
them? Yeah.
Because most of the towers, they will have what? Laundry, supermarket, pharmacy, and maybe car rental or whatever. It's just this. But some towers, because they have been sold in pieces, you will have 4 supermarkets.
Yeah.
So what happens? They come down on the price, then they say to the owner, I don't have money to pay. And the residents are like, where is my laundry? Where is my this? So the developer, what they do, they either sell it to themselves or some loyal investor that they have, but then they say, okay, we'll have a flower shop, we'll have this, that you bring value to the building. The problem of splitting it and selling to whoever is that the building itself doesn't have value from his own retail. So the client from that building, you have 400 people living in the building, they go to the building next door to shop because they like it more. So it's very important to see it as an investor point of view, which is you buy it, you control. The most important is the control.
But if the budget is small, let's say, I don't know, a couple of millions dirhams, and then they just able to buy one retail, do you think still they can make money by just reselling it at the completion when already the whole community is done?
You can do it, but most of these people that they do like this, they will do the fit out because in Dubai, it's fast-moving market. People don't really have imagination. They don't have time planning, and these things don't exist here. So they want something today. So if you do the fit out, whoever rents it or buys it can rent it tomorrow. Right. The thing of the shell and core, you cannot operate because it doesn't exist. So you need to get it done. It takes 3 to 4 months usually. So during that time, the owner doesn't receive the rent and you will lease it for less because you will say to the tenant, I give it to you for better price. You'll do the fit out, invest a couple of million in my property. When I sell it, I make money on you. Right. But if you do it, so you advance that money for the tenant, then price is different because you say, Mr. Tenant, you're not investing anything. You just put your business there and here you go. You can start working. So it's done to, but all the commercial investors, they know what they want. So they don't need you for that. They will say, okay, Xenia, I need, these are my requirements. Find me something. The way they're going to do it, how much money they're going to make, it's not in your business. If you find them something, they run the numbers, number clicks, they'll say, I'll buy it. It's simple as this. But they need to trust you. For
sure. Did you have any situation where you would need to find a kind of, retail space or office, specific one, and you need to deal with the other agent and the other agent wouldn't cooperate with you. We kind of face it sometimes where people just saying solely like, no, I'm sorry, not working with anybody. I'm just by myself with this office. I'm going to sell it to direct.
So
how do you deal with these situations generally? You give up or?
So if I have the client for that specific office,
yes.
It happened to me one time and I explained to the tenant, it was a leasing in Vision Tower in Business Bay.
Yeah.
So that tenant wanted that property and the agent was exclusive. Long term, they were managing the property. So it's like there's no door. You cannot enter. And they say, we have time. We'll find the client direct. We don't care. So how do? You say to the client, look, go to talk to them direct. That would be an option. Or you don't say anything to the client.
Or basically you still charge the client for like a referral somehow?
Yeah. So either you say, look, I cannot do it. Please go, and because out of faith, you say, look, I will not make money on this. You just go yourself.
Right.
That's best case scenario, because otherwise the client could say, look, why not? And they will go direct and then you lose faith.
Anyways, they would.
But what we did in that specific case is we said to the client, look, this is how the property is. These are the parameters. This property will cost you, it's a better deal than the market. However, the commission will be double. So we double charge the commission. So I got my commission from the tenant and the agent in charge of property got his commission from the tenant as well. And I also know that he got paid by the owner. But at the end, we all made money. We're all happy. And I think dirham in your pocket is better than zero. So regardless, even people negotiate commission, I always take, because this is returning business. If you refuse down to commission wise, this is where it gets tricky. But the thing is, because I have my own real estate company, I can decide this. And I know most of the agent is done to company approval. And they say, well, you took that little there, and they cannot, and they have their hands tight and they cannot, that's unfortunately. True. So it's done to explaining on the commercial, because of the way you negotiate, how good the deal is, the payment terms, how long is the contract. The commission is not set in stone. It's like, this is how it is, take it or leave it. And most of the company managers, they don't understand, because in residential, it feels like a tax. You open the door, it's 5%.
Yeah.
The commercial, there's so many things that could change along the way that you don't know. You never know. The client says, I don't want it, then he wants it. And
I also feel like sometimes companies overlook the fact of long-term relationship with a client, where you just want to help them, even at the smaller commission level, but you just understand that client might lead to many other. And that's what sometimes companies, because they operate on daily incomes and they want obviously the higher check, and that's why it's happening maybe this way. But it's a wisdom as well. It depends on the scale of the company. If I think smaller, they are more attentive. If it's bigger company, that's why I never recommend my clients, like if they somewhere else, even to go to a huge corporation, because I said it's like, like everything needs a micromanagement at the end. You need an assigned person who will take care of you from beginning till the end, and who will be knowing what you love, knowing what's your deepest, understanding of what you want to get. Because usually in the huge companies is not the case. They really work on a kind of like a factory basis, like a service kind of thing.
I was in a branded company before and before as well. So look, the branded company brings you leads that as an individual you will never get. Yeah. The problem is they knock that door, and if no one replies, then they are like any other real estate. They don't have any added value if you don't have the right guy inside. So the thing is, if you're there and you get those leads, it's great. But once you understand that branded value doesn't help you as an agent, because what you need is local knowledge. So being international brand doesn't give you local knowledge. And we see it. There was like 400 agents. Most of them, they sit in the office, they talk all day. They don't know anything in Dubai. And when those clients want and say, can you drive me around? They say, no, we don't do this.
Yeah.
But most clients, they want to understand real estate is location. So you need to understand what's there, what's coming up, what's on these plots, why this, why that. You cannot sell everything on PDF. Absolutely. Commercial is like this. You need to know. So the guy will ask you, okay, this is my office. Where do I live now? So because everything is done to you, because if you tell him, take this office here, you say, okay, you can rent that apartment next to it. Your kids can go to that school. It's a different thing. It's all business. If he makes whole money, it's flooding the whole rest of his, it's not a salary. Did you ever have a situation where people would buy online or rent online? Is there no face to face, right? Yeah.
I think it's only residential kind of.
I mean,
stuff.
commercial off plan, you could, some listing online. It's very simple. If there is a tenant, you have a contract signed this, that, but people want to see, they want to see how it looks like inside. What's the view? They ask, where is the parking? This is important as well for commercial. So
100%.
In apartments, you buy an apartment and sometimes you have like 7 podiums. Okay.
Enough.
So if you go home and you sleep and you say 10 hours home, you don't mind doing 7 floors up.
Yeah.
If you're in that business that you have, let's say, courier service, and you have that one car that comes in, comes out all the day, you cannot be on podium 7. So some people, and I face this, they don't buy an office because of the parking.
Absolutely.
They say, give me ground floors. It doesn't work like this. Everything is allocated. So there's so many things that are just little and can break a deal, just like this. Parking. I lost a deal just because of the parking. So it was,
as they say, the devil is in details, right?
Yeah.
And that's a big detail. Yeah, especially parking is in Dubai. When you talk about areas, we see now so many new developments are being built, like Jumeirah village is booming right now. GVT, Arjan is going crazy. Majan, all of those new areas. Would you recommend someone, let's say, who is looking to open a restaurant, to go to those new areas where it's still, people like arriving, let's say?
Yeah. But I would recommend, but I think you'll be surprised, but there's no space there.
Already?
Everything is taken. JVC, there's literally no space. People take the space straight away.
Wow.
So it's very difficult to find spaces.
I thought still there is like...
No.
I thought only Marina is occupied.
Everything is... so if it's ready, it's being rented, they will put a sticker. This is the mobile number, so people will find it directly. There is such a concentration of people there that whatever you open is going to work. The rent are very small. You don't have those profit rate, things like this. So it's you pay the rent, that's it, finish. So high demand, low supply, price goes up, everyone is happy. The thing is, those areas we see also, like especially in JVC, Bingati developed lots of building where 4 or 5 floors of offices, which people are thinking, okay, I like to live and work same place, especially with the traffic nowadays. So those people are also selling these offices like hot cookies, like Bingati offices. They're a couple of millions, 1,000 square feet, sorry. And they would just sell them like this, because you buy an apartment in the building and you can also buy an office in the same building and work from home.
Can you convert an apartment into the office? No, that's two separate things.
So what I do in Burj Khalifa, these are the highest floors and they are all floor plates. So you buy the whole floor. The size is from 1,000 square meter to 400 square meter. So many clients say, why is not an apartment here?
Yeah.
Then they think, I can make something so nice. And they say, no, it's regulated in Dubai. It's very simple. The usage, you cannot change anything. The only thing that is changeable, but to an extent, these are the commercial villa in Jumeirah. So on Jumeirah Beach Road and Wasser Road, you have lots of clinics, medical, these businesses.
Yeah. Popular place.
So these were residential villa before. But because it's high traffic and lots of noise, those villas, they were not very convenient for living there. So they've been transferred to commercial. But then you find struggle on parking. So this, they were not meant to be commercial, but they became commercial.
Issues.
So they don't change.
But there is no, because I've heard at some point developers were selling home offices. Something.
No. So what happened is Emar was selling visa and licenses with apartments. So what they were selling is you buy an apartment and you get a desk in the MCC. I think it was 2 years free. So you get a license to work from there. So obviously, depending on the business, because you cannot open anything you want, but it's an apartment with a desk in the free zone. It's not that you can work from home. It's tricky because and I know agents sold it like this, but it doesn't work like this. So it's an apartment with a trade license, but not in
case if there is anybody super smart trying to make a little office inside the home, how bad is the punishment? Well,
you can have your office at home. You can work from home, but the laws of the UAE.
But the office that receiving the clients, this is the issue, right?
You could. It's always the same. It's done to how you explain, how you talk to security, but it's also respect to your neighbors. And you don't want as well that you're that neighbor and you take the lift and there's always client queuing in front of the apartment and you don't know what kind of things they do. So you cannot do it. If you want to work from home, have team meetings, have some of the employee come from home, legally nothing can stop you because it's your private place. But if you have a legitimate business, you have a commercial address somewhere. Maybe it's not convenient to go. Maybe it's far from home, traffic. Maybe you don't like it. Maybe it's not what you want and you took it for the license purposes, but you cannot make your home a commercial space because somehow you'll have problems at some time.
Yeah, it depends on the building. Maybe if it's some distant building in the desert, it might be.
Yeah, but the desert is being pushed away. So So there's less and less.
For the business people, just to understand, maybe there's a lot of people who's planning to open business, in Dubai. How long does it take, let's say, a package from beginning, looking for, deciding what kind of business, license, finding the office, starting the operation. What is the duration? Because we have different numbers, obviously. What is in your opinion?
So we try to make it simple. It can go as long as you want, but to make it simple, first, if the client knows what they want.
Let's say halfway.
Let's say they know what they want.
Yes,
okay, so we'll say, the client wants to open a real estate company. We both know how it works.
Yes.
So first he goes to DED, register his name. To check if the name, some words are not allowed. Like you cannot put Dubai, you cannot put love. There's lots of things you cannot put
I didn't know that.
in the name. So you put your name, named, registered. Then you need to give the memorandum of association, which is who are the owners, what do they do, what are the shares, how much money invested. And then you get a pre-approval. This pre-approval allows you to call an agent. Don't do it before. We as agent ask, are you pre-approved? If you're not, usually go get pre-approved and come back to us. So this whole thing takes about 2-3 days. You pay fees and stuff like that. Yeah. So now you have a company that is kind of on the system, but not allowed to be operated. Then you go to the real estate.
License. This what we call
like pre-licensing.
Pre-licensing.
So once you have this, the next requirement is the location. So then you need to go on the market and do the real estate work.
Right.
If you know Dubai, you can accommodate, let's say, 1 week. If you don't know Dubai, well, you need more time, or you need an agent that will make it fast for you. So let's say you do this 3-4 days for the pre-licensing, you do a week or 2 for the finding an office, signing everything. Once you have this address, you can go finalize the license and then do HRE. So if you're super fast and you know what you want, 2-3 weeks would make it. This is everything is streamlined. There's no.
In terms of opening bank account, is it like more flexible? Because some people told me that it's.
So what we see with the foreigners nowadays is some people, they come here to operate a business. So they need to get Emirates license, Emirates ID, visa. So this takes time as well. So once this is done, they can open a bank account on their name. However, the bank account on the corporate name, it takes longer because there's lots of due diligence done on the company. They will come to the office to check the office. It needs to be furnished, needs to have electricity. So there are a few things that needs to be done. So the corporate compliance takes some time. It depends on where you're coming from. So this you can allocate another month. So the question that you should have now is that, okay, so let's say I take 3 weeks to open my license, but then I need 1 month to get the bank account. How do I pay? Right?
Exactly.
Like, how do I pay?
Good question.
And then this is where you get this funny word, which is the check. So most of the foreigners, like, what check? We live in Dubai, it's 21st century. I never did the check. Last time I did the check was like 6 years ago, 7 years ago.
That's if they had it.
Exactly. So they don't know. About it. It's like even the wording of the check, this is a next level conversation. But so how do I pay? Yeah. So what they need to do is they need to pay under their name. So there's some kind of agreement that is liable for the rent. So the owner is actually allowed to cash these checks on behalf of the company. So there's like a contract that says who pays what. And on this agreement, there's a swap clause. So once the corporate account is created, they can come and say, okay, give me my personal check back and put the corporate checks. That's the only thing you can do, because otherwise, how do you pay? Because most of the companies, they need cash flow. So they will not take 1 check payment. They will take 4 checks.
And that personal check comes from what? The personal bank account and the personal bank account from the Visa.
Yeah.
So Visa comes actually.
Yeah. Unless
so it's a license, Visa, bank account. This is how this sequence.
Then license and then corporate account. So sometimes you have a friend or someone that you know that can become reliable for you. But same, this we tend to say, don't do it because you never know what's happening, if the check bounce, whatever. So the check business is complicated. They are trying to change, they're changing the law about the checks. But what we expect as well for the commercial, that would be a nice add to the market, which is that you allow the company, so the owner, to go to your bank account and take the money. That's so you don't have to do post-date checks, because checks here, they can bounce because the wording is incorrect, the date is not clear, or there's so many things that could just bounce the check.
The funny thing happened last time we got the check, it was for commercial, by the way. He wrote the month before the day. So if you read it normally, it would be 1st of, it was it looked like 1st of November. Yeah, because November is 11 months. So he flipped this too. And we took it. We were thinking it could be, because I was thinking it could be considered by bank also as an option, because there is American style of writing.
Yeah.
There is a,
day, month, or
English.
month's day. Yeah.
No, it's not going to work. A bank is not accepting. So for everyone, has to be the day, has to be the month, and has to be the year.
Yeah.
And that's the only way which will be accepted. Otherwise, this check is not valid. It's going to be returned back by the bank.
So now you have to be careful as well on the commercial side. So we got one case that tenant took an office, he rented it, and then it was about to take another one. And the owner was a bit picky on the profile of each client, and he asked for a credit report. So he asked the bank of the client. So they asked which bank. So they asked the bank, okay, is that guy a good guy? Everything clicks. But there was one line saying that he bounced a check.
Oh.
And the reason why he bounced the check was insufficient fund, which is criminal here in UAE. So I do a check to you and I have no money.
Yeah.
That's illegal. So we came back to the exam and said, look, this owner, he cannot take you because you have this line, and on your credit history, it doesn't look good. So why is that bouncing check there, And unfortunately for that client, he lost that office. And the reason why that check was there is because he paid by transfer, the owner, but the owner had the check. It went to accounting, they cashed the check.
Whoa. So, because sometimes as the company
so it's a mistake. It's a mistake, but this credit history shows everything and you cannot lie. So I advise client to be very careful because this is coming. Surprisingly here for me as a foreigner, when you rent an apartment or when you rent as a company, nobody really asks you bank statement, proof of funds, where you're coming from, any due diligence. They will look online. Okay, he has a website.
Because money can come from anywhere.
Exactly. He has a website, he has a license. Okay, it clicks, but nobody knows. And I think it will come the day that people will qualify based on all these things. And
which already happens in Western countries. Like true. In US, I think they keep asking all of the statement of accounts.
So we have some owners doing this. Most of the malls, they do it as well. So, but
I think generally like big deals. I was dealing one time with a full hotel for sale. Yeah, the owners are asking directly the proof of funds. It has to be like a statement of account, obviously, because this type of amount of money, they need to know where it's coming from, if it's all legit and everything.
Yeah, or if they actually have money. Because we see lots of
let's start from that point.
I want to buy this. Okay, who you are? I'll find the money later.
Maybe it's a sneaky agent who is trying to get information and acting like the owner.
Yeah. Do
you have anything like any crazy deal or the big deal that you had which really you would like to share?
So I'm a very confidential person, so I don't really like to share what I'm doing and who I deal with and who I meet, but a deal that was
keep the names aside.
The craziest deal that I did was that I rented a plot of land long time back in industrial city, and the deal was not crazy in terms of money. It's just the implication, because there was authority, there were a lawyer, architecture, and what I didn't know is that client had referrals. So when I closed the deal, I said, okay, great, I have my money, blah, blah, blah. And then lots of people came to me. Oh, I convinced the client for this. I convinced the client for that. And they were all asking money.
And I was mushrooms.
I was like 6 months here and I didn't know what to do. It's like all these people, they came, and if you round up together, you owe more money to them than what you got paid for.
Yeah, you put
and
extras.
You don't understand. It's like, what do you mean there was no paper? And you come from paper country, where everything is it's signed and there's agreement. And all these people, they come and say, no, I talked to the guy, I went shisha with him, I convinced him to do, and you're like, what is this business? This was the crazy, because for 6 months they were coming, where's my money? I say, I'm not going to pay you. Oh, we'll go to police. I say, go to police. I'm a real estate guy. I did my deal.
Wow.
And it was all this that they come and nag. And we have this on the agent base, like some agents say, oh, but my friend, he needs something from it and how much he wants. And they're like, he wants more money than the commission or the kickback or this or that. So what I would say to the agent on those deals is whatever the amount that you need to do, especially on the big one, set everything in stone, write everything, agreed for everything. So when it's done, there's no surprise. Wow. You can go to bed, because big money brings big interest, and people feel like it's not that you don't deserve it. They say, oh, he did nothing for it. It's like,
I feel like it's like those birds, when you're throwing the food, all those birds are coming. That's when it's just a vision of how the big deals are working. Do you have any recommendations beside this one to some new agent who is just brand new starting real estate? Does it worth maybe to specialize in something, specifically areas, or let it be all the commercial of Dubai?
So I think you need to find your own product. All companies try to put you on areas.
Right.
So let's say you're going to do DLT apartment or marina apartment. Because it's quite easy, because it's either villas or apartment. Commercial is different because one area could have the retail and the offices. So how do you focus? It's different. So for me, I would rather, if I hire agent, I would rather split it to product than areas, because if that client looks for retailers in Dubai, I don't want him to deal with one guy in downtown, one guy in GLT, one guy in Marina. It's too complicated.
Yes.
So the retail business is the same everywhere. Regulation might change, but it's the same. The qualification is the same. So one guy does offices. Offices is big enough that you could split in areas, but retail, for example, it's limited stock, so you don't have to do this. And then industrial as well. What I see nowadays is that because everyone is building everywhere, and even all projects are being revamped and resold in a new way, especially in Marina. So there is big demand for plots of land. So plots of land is something that has been left aside because people put crazy money for it and they wanted crazy money back for it. And the people that were smart enough to wait, we see it on the Palm, they wait for so many years and now they sell at 10x what they paid for because they waited.
It was worth
And
waiting.
they all tell you, yeah, I knew. No, nobody knew.
Nobody
waited
knew.
And it was less than before and now it's more than
they
before.
were just like taking the risk, and the risk worked.
Yeah, or they didn't want to lose money. They hold to it, and now they say, okay, it went up. And it's like the casino. You keep building up your wealth, but if you do all in, you could lose everything or double everything.
Right.
So they waited, but the plot of land, why it's interesting is that it's a residential property. So if it's a residential building, for example, but it's considered as a commercial because it's a land. So you need to know lots of things that makes you valued in this transaction, such as the affection plan, the GFA, the built up area, what you can do, cannot do, what's coming around. So you need to be like a master of this.
Should it be like a proper training for anybody who starts new? It has it, or is learn by yourself kind of thing?
This is where it's funny. So you remember before we had the training in REA, so you spend like 4 days there and then you have this computerized thing where they check you is cheating, not cheating. And now it's all online. And I think it lost a bit the value of this thing, but they have so many agents as well that they have to do it like this.
Yeah.
But the thing is, there is no commercial training. So if you want to be a broker registered, regardless what you do, it's the same training for everyone.
Same license,
and
the
it
same
has
training.
nothing to do in the commercial. Where I'm surprised, and I'm happily surprised, but it's not fair for the other agents as well, is when you do the renewal for your exam, there's lots of commercial questions now popping up in that exam.
Which is a difficult
Which is,
answer.
for me, I know them, so no big deal. But for the new agent, they're like, what is this? You know, we spent 4 days in the training explaining us how to sell houses. And then
that's how they fail the exam and they go again and again and
then
again.
they say, how much is the profit rate on this? If I do like this amount, how much do I pay the owner? And all this is there. And you're like, but which kind of agent you're asking? If you ask residential agent, make a residential thing and commercial. So there was talks before to make like a broker card just for commercial, which was stopped because of COVID. It was implemented somehow
so
before
potentially
COVID.
they might make it soon, yeah?
So they might make it, but same for an agent. For me, I do residential deals as well because commercial owners, they rely on you for the residential because they know it's easier and it's no big deal. And they want one guy that does everything. They don't want to diversify.
One-stop shop.
Yeah. So the thing is, this commercial kind of training or preparation should be done. Because there is so many agents that have been thrown. It's like I throw you in the pool and swim. But the commercial is you're likely going to drown because same as your guy that walked around, where do you focus? There's so many things. The stock is limited, so many regulations. And Arabic is somehow more important because if you end up in the industrial areas where you have labor camp, factories, warehouses, this is more local business.
And that's a deep mafia, I think, over there.
Yeah, when you go outside towards the desert, then you have all this property coming up and you say, oh, this is here, storage facility, and this is coming up, and nobody goes to those places because it's not attractive.
Exactly.
But there is big money there as well. So for me, warehouses, it's big money, but lots of knowledge and same plots of land.
So there's a lot of money to be made.
But there's nothing easy. Nothing comes easy.
Yeah, it's one of the hardest industry, I think. Pierre, it's unfortunately time is running so fast. I think we could still talk for a lot of things that I feel what an interesting subject. And I think mainly just because it wasn't covered as much, just because a lot of people doing residential and commercial is very kind of tight niche. And I'm glad that Dubai has more specialists like you. So basically, if anybody wants to buy or rent commercial, they can come to you. You're going to give them the full guidance and you can explain everything.
Or even for me, I do it as if I put my name in the market and being known and helping clients, I know that agents need help as well. And I have nothing against agent that say, look, I cannot do it. Can you help me? No problem. If agent come and say, I do everything and then he makes something wrong, they come back to me, then I feel like it's not fair. Right. So I'm open to help anyone as well. Nice. This is what I do. So if there is anything that I can do, I'm happy to do it. Great. Perfect. Thank you so much. It was nice having you. And yeah, to the next one. To the next episode. All right. Thank you. Bye.